Good morning. I'm Kent Ray, CTA's General Counsel. The committee meeting scheduled for this morning starting at 9:30, the Committee on Strategic Planning and Service Delivery, will be followed by the Committee on Finance, Audit, and Budget, and the regular board meeting, which is scheduled for 10 a.m. On December 8th, 2022, the Office of the Secretary issued a notice of changed format of meetings. Good morning. I'm Kent Ray, CTA's General Counsel, Service Delivery, and Finance, Audit, and Budget, and the Transit Board meeting scheduled for today, December 14th. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there is currently in place a statewide disaster proclamation, which has been renewed from month to month. Pursuant to Section 7E of the Illinois Open Meetings Act, virtual public meetings are permitted while the disaster proclamation remains in effect. Because the governor's office's disaster proclamation remains in effect in the state of Illinois, the meetings of December 14, 2022 are being held electronically or virtually for members of the public. At this point, we are ready to start the meeting of the Committee on Strategic Planning and Service Delivery. Chairman Miller.
Good morning. I'd like to call to order the December 14 meeting, Committee on Strategic Planning and Service Delivery. Ken, can you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Director Ortiz?
Here.
Director Lee?
Here.
Director Jha?
Here.
Chairman Miller?
Here.
I note also present for the meeting are Directors Jakes, Director Silva, and Chairman Barclay. Chairman Miller, you have a quorum with 4 members of the committee present.
Thank you, Ken. Our first order of business is the approval of the October 14, 2022 committee minutes meeting. May I have a motion for approval?
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Director Ortiz?
Yes.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Director Jha?
Yes.
And Chairman Miller? Chairman Miller, do you vote to approve the
Yes.
the meeting minutes?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, sir. The motion is approved with 4 yes votes.
Okay, thank you. Our next order of business is a presentation of update CTA's Fair Media Program. Molly Poppy.
Thank you, Chairman Miller. Good morning, directors. I'm Molly Poppy. I am the Chief Innovation Officer here at CTA, and I am presenting an update on some recent fair changes that we've made and some further fair changes that we anticipate in 2023. Next slide. In 2021, we launched a successful pass promotion that reduced the cost of our 1 3-day passes. We saw a growth in ridership from that pass promotion reduction. And so as part of the 2022 budget, as you remember, we did take steps to lower all of CTA pass products. We reduced the 1, 3, 7, and 30-day passes. And then additionally, we launched free transfers between all CTA service. So now it is free to transfer between rail, to transfer between CTA buses, or from a CTA rail line to a bus or vice versa. Later on in 2022, we launched the Regional Connect Pass, which is an integrated pass product between CTA Pace and Metra. It replaced the Metra LinkUp, and what it did is it allowed individuals who are a Metra monthly ticket holder to also have essentially a 30-day CTA Pace pass to create that regional integration that we've been seeking. What we've really seen from those pass products is improved satisfaction from our customers on those pass prices and the ease of use. We also have seen a growth in pass usage where we had anticipated as a result of COVID, individuals would be leaving pass products, which tend to be more affordable long-term, provide more riding access to a more pay-per-use base, so a pay-as-you-go. We know individuals that are on pass products also tend to ride more, and so encouraging people to be in passes is something we really wanted to continue to grow and improve. In 2023, we're going to continue with those successes and continue to add on to those pass products. Next slide. Just a little bit more on the success that we've seen with the changes that we made. So with the 30-day pass reduction from $105 to $75, we have seen a bit of a growth in the 30-day pass product. It is still well below 2019 or pre-COVID levels, but we did see an increase in the PACE share of the 30-day pass product. On the 7-day side, the 7-day, we continue to see an expanded use of the 7-day pass. We're actually at 60% of pre-COVID levels of that 7-day pass, with usage continuing to grow there. Where we've really seen significant success is really with that 1-day pass. The 1-day pass product, we reduced it from $10 to $5, and 1-day pass ridership has actually exceeded 2019 levels in 2022, which really shows us that the 1-day is a really good option for customers, and they're finding it both an affordable option and they're using it to ride more. Specifically on the 1-day pass, we've seen a growth in ridership on bus specifically. Next slide. On the Regional Connect Pass that was launched in 2020, in July of 22, as I mentioned, it replaced the Metro Link Up. We reduced the pass product from $55 to $30. And what we did is we really combined the Metro Link Up and the Pace Plus bus into one low cost for Metro monthly ticket holders. What you can see on the slide here, there's two different charts. On the right chart, you will see a comparison of rides per month by Regional Connect Pass holders compared to what they were riding in 2019 with the Metro Link Up. As you can see, we're still below pre-COVID levels of ridership, but you see that number continuing to grow. So it really is, even though we do have reduced ridership right now as we're coming out of COVID, we are seeing a growth in ridership and a growth in use of the Regional Connect Pass. Now on the left side, if you compare ridership of the Link Up Pass in 2021 to now, you can really see an exponential growth in ridership by that Regional Connect Pass holder when you compare it to the Metro Link Up. So we're going to continue to monitor the successful pass products and see how they're continuing to expand ridership, if customers are really taking advantage of it. But one of the steps that we're going to take today is further integrating with Pace. You can go to the next slide. We are going to add Pace to the CTA 1 and 3-day. So previously we used to only have a CTA standalone 1-day and a CTA standalone 3-day, and then Pace was integrated on our 7 and 30-day. We're now taking a step to add Pace ridership to our 1 and 3-day. So now customers who buy a CTA 1-day or buy a 1-day and a 3-day, they'll be able to ride on Pace or CTA services for the duration of that pass. Additionally, we're going to eliminate the standalone CTA 7-day pass and just launch with the CTA Pay 7-day pass at now $20, which is a $5 reduction in that pass product. So at this point, with these integrations, the Romanian standalone CTA fare product is going to only be that $3 single ride ticket. Otherwise, CTA has really taken some crucial steps with our partners at Pace to have a fully integrated pass products that allow customers to very easily and seamlessly transition between Pace and CTA service through their pass products and continue to ride based on what works best for them. These particular pass products will become effective if the board does approve in February of this year, February of 2023, excuse me. With that, I will take questions, Chairman Miller.
Thank you so much for the update. Don't have any questions. I think this is good for our customers. Just to keep giving us update, and we're looking forward. Thank you.
Director Ortiz, do you have any questions?
No questions, just really appreciate the move in this direction. I think it's gonna, as you've noted, there's some good progress, and I anticipate there'll be even more with the changes recommended. So thank you.
Director Lee, any questions?
No questions, just thanks for all the hard work. And I think it's really great that we're working with the other agencies, especially, it just shows that we really are committed to mobilization across the Chicagoland area. So thank you.
Director Jha.
No questions, thank you.
Any questions from any other directors present?
No questions.
Chairman Miller, there are no further questions.
Thank you. Since there's no further business to be conducted, may we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Thank you. On that motion to adjourn, Director Ortiz,
yes.
Director Lee,
Yes.
Director Ja,
Yes.
Chairman Miller.
Yes.
The motion passes with 4 ayes. The meeting of the Committee on Strategic Planning and Service Delivery is now adjourned.
Thank you.
Chairman Silva, we can now begin the meeting of the Committee of Finance, Audit, and Budget.
Good morning. I would like to call to order the December 14, 2022 meeting of the Committee on Finance, Audit, and Budget. Kent, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Director Jakes,
Here.
Director Miller,
Here.
Director Ortiz,
Here,
Director Lee,
Here.
Director Ja,
Here.
Director Barker,
Here.
Silva. Chairman Silva, you have a quorum with 7 members in attendance. You may proceed to agenda item number 2.
First order of business is the approval of the committee minutes on November 15, 2022. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
second,
Motion has been moved by Director Ja and seconded by Director Ortiz. Director Jakes,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Ortiz,
yes.
Director Lee,
Yes.
Director Ja,
Yes.
Barclay,
Yes.
Chairman Silva.
Yes.
The motion passes with 7 yes votes. Chairman Silva, you may proceed to agenda item number 3.
Our next order of business is the financial report. Jeremy Fine.
Good morning. I'm Jeremy Fine, your Chief Financial Officer, and I'll be giving you a brief update as to October revenues and expenses. On the next page, you see October revenues coming in a similar manner of what we've seen over prior months, where we see fair and past totals coming in positive by about $300,000 on both an amended budget and original budget basis. Reduced fare subsidy coming in as expected, and non-fare bucks totals continue to outperform budgeted levels by about $900,000. So overall, for the month of October, we see total revenues about $1.2 million better than the amended budget and original budget. On the next page, you see year-to-date numbers. They're following a similar form on each line item. So the total revenue line, we see about $8.3 million of outperformance versus the amended budget, and about $7.7 million of outperformance versus the original budget. And it's important to note that we are about $52 million better than where we were this time last year. On the next couple of pages, we see our expense levels, and we continue to see positive variance on the expense side of the house as well. We see labor coming in about $5.8 million positive to budget on both an amended and original budget basis. Material coming in about $1.1 million better. Fuel coming in about $850,000 better than budgeted. Power about 1.9 million. Injuries and damages coming in either flat or slightly negative on the security services side, and other expenses coming in positive by about 4.5 million. So overall, for the month of October, we see a little over $14 million of positive variance on expenses on both an amended budget and original budget basis. If you couple this with the positive variance on revenues, we see a positive variance of about 15.3 million against the amended budget, as well as the original budget. On the next page, you see year-to-date expenses, again, following a similar form. Dropping to the bottom line, we see total operating expenses coming in better than budgeted by about $113 million better than the amended budget, and about $146 million better than the original budget. And again, coupled with revenues, we see the amended budget outperformance by about 121.5 million, and the original budget by about 154.1 million. The outperformance on both revenues and expenses on the system generated side are coupled with those on public funding. We see public funding for the month here coming in better than expected. On sales tax, these are collections from August. but we see outperformance versus the amended budget by about $6.7 million and positive variance to the original budget of about $8.8 million. PTF coming in about $1.5 million better on the amended budget and about 5.2 versus the original budget. The real estate transfer tax is a little bit lower than the amended budget, but a little bit better than the original budget. Same with PTF on RET. And then ICE is coming in either flat or slightly positive to the original budget. So overall for the month, we see about $6.6 million of positive variance on the amended budget and about 14.3 on the original budget. On the next page, you see year-to-date numbers, again, following a similar type form. Dropping to the bottom line, you see about $31.2 million of positive variance on the amended budget and about $90.8 million of positive variance on the original budget. So the fact that we've seen positive variance on our system-generated revenues and expenses, as well as our public funding, has led us to draw lower than estimated amounts against our federal relief funding, and you'll see that on the next page. For the month, we're drawing about $5.4 million. As you can see, we're drawing against the 3 active grants, CRISA, ARP, and ARP discretionary to keep all 3 grants active. To date, we've drawn down about 41.7% of the total allocation, which means that we have about $1.3 million remaining, $3 billion remaining. This leaves us on track to end the year with about $1.2 billion remaining as we go into 2023. On the next page, you see our commodity purchases for fuel, power, and natural gas. We've locked in for where we need to be for the near term on all 3 commodities. We continue to look for selective opportunities for outer years, particularly on fuel when prices ebb. And we've been able to lock in, which we'll talk more about in specifics next month, but some additional purchases in the last couple of days for 24 and 25 volume. So again, that strategy's worked very well for us to be able to lock in at very attractive prices per gallon. We're at about the 280, 290 type price range per gallon in those years. So again, very good strategy for us. We'll continue to look for selective opportunities to make additional purchases across all 3 commodities, but fuel in particular. That concludes my report for October, and glad to answer any questions.
The federal money that we're gonna have, okay, after this, okay, is how many years?
So we currently expect, as per our 23 budget, that the federal funding that we currently have will last us through 2025 and into the early part of 2026.
2026. And in the fuel, how do we see the future, okay, in that?
So it's obviously a very, whipsawed market. We see prices ebbing and flowing quite dramatically on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. But again, we are looking for selective opportunities when prices ebb, as we have over the past couple of years, frankly. And again, that has allowed us to lock in at very attractive pricing. We're also doing that looking into the future where prices are a little bit lower, as opposed to just trying to buy everything on the spot market, which has much more volatility. So again, we don't have a crystal ball, but again, this strategy has worked very well for us and has allowed us budgetary certainty as we continue to move forward.
Well, let's keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Barclay, any questions?
No questions.
Director Jakes?
No questions.
Director Ja?
No questions.
Director Lee? Any questions?
Director Lee dropped off. She's trying to rejoin now.
Okay, thank you. Director Ortiz, do you have any questions?
Thank you.
And Director Miller? Any questions, Director Miller?
No question.
Thank you. Has Director Lee been able to rejoin?
She is not reconnected yet.
Okay, thank you. Well, Chairman, there are no further questions. You may proceed to agenda item number 4.
Our next order of business is an ordinance authorizing first amendments to omnibus and revenue sharing intergovernmental agreements with BASE, Jeremy Fine,
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Jeremy Fine, your Chief Financial Officer. And today, for your consideration, I present an ordinance to authorize amendments to two prior PACE IGAs. With these amendments, CTA 1-day and 3-day passes will be valid for use on both CTA and PACE transit systems, in addition to the current joint CTA PACE 30-day and 7-day CTA PACE passes. With these amendments, CTA will offer all its primary passes for use on both CTA and PACE. The purpose of these modifications is to continue increasing regional ridership and improving customer experience through offering seamless pass integration between transit systems. Also, with these changes, the amount that riders will pay for a 7-day joint pass will be reduced by $5, as there will be no additional surcharge to ride PACE on our passes. Starting in February 2023, CTA will offer 4 unlimited ride passes that will also work on PACE mainline service. The 1-day pass for $5, the 3-day pass for $15, the 7-day pass for $20, and the 30-day pass for $75. CTA and PACE will announce the implementation date closer to the launch of the initiative in early 2023, and the IGAs will also streamline the revenue share between CTA and PACE for these passes. Beginning in February 2023, the revenue of the shared passes will be split between CTA and PACE based on ridership taken on each system. This concludes my presentation, and I'm glad to answer any questions that you may have.
So, but what we are expecting, okay, with this merger, okay, in ridership?
So what we've seen to date when we have expanded our passes on the 7-day and 30-day, and just our price, reductions that we took on our own passes, is that it has inspired additional ridership on the system. So again, I think with these further integration of the passes across CTA and PACE, that this will again further additional regional ridership across the system at large. It also improves the customer experience by offering that seamless integration at the same price points that we have offered on our system passes as well. So again, I think with the further integration, the elimination of the $5 surcharge on the 7-day pass, you'll see increased ridership across the region with these pass modifications.
Do we have enough buses and trains, okay, to...
Yes, again, I think that there's system capacity on both systems to allow for the additional ridership to continue to come back. And I think that this is a good way that we have seen with real experience spur additional ridership. So again, this will be a benefit to CTA, to PACE, and most importantly, to the riders of the region being able to access the system more seamlessly.
So we are growing, okay, in size, okay? I mean, do we gonna move up, okay, at national level?
The ridership that we're going to get from this program, I don't think is going to have that huge of an impact on what our current ridership levels are. It's going to make it more easier for customers to move between the various systems. But those customers are already riding CTA. This is really a way to smooth out those transitions. And while I think it'll bring ridership to CTA, I don't view this as the solution to my ridership problem. It's just one piece to a multi-layered, puzzle of what we need to do to basically get ridership back to where we want to be. We're at about 60% of our ridership from pre-pandemic levels today. I expect that trend is going to continue to grow. Where we'll ultimately end up, I think, is still an unknown for us. This will help, but I'm not concerned about it in some way creating capacity issues or becoming a challenge for us to manage the demand. I mean, I would love to have that as a problem right now, where I've got so much ridership that I got to start figuring out how to support it. We're a long ways away from that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Governor, what's the perception of PACE, looking at it from their angle? How do they see this?
For PACE, PACE has always, at some level, viewed themselves as a connecting service to CTA and Metro. From their perspective, they're getting an easier access to CTA's network of service, both bus and rail. They will, I'm sure that they view that they will benefit from this, particularly for customers who are making city suburban trips as opposed to suburban city trips. What I view as a whole, the benefit of what we're talking about is that it increases the mobility options for people at a time where what we're seeing is that people's transit patterns are changing. It's become much more important that we're offering up options that allow people to go where they may want to go, and in many cases that's not a traditional downtown to home or home to downtown commute, particularly as we've dealt with working from home. We continue to see growth opportunities around our customers who want to use public transportation to get to other places throughout the city. And this is just another way to expand the footprint and make it easier for those customers to not only take advantage of CTA's system, but also take advantage of PACE's system in terms of providing that type of easy connectivity at a pass price that ultimately is a benefit to both sides.
Thank you.
Director Barclay, do you have any further questions?
No.
Director Jakes?
No questions. Thank you.
Director Shaw?
No questions, thanks.
Director Miller, any questions?
No question. Thank you.
Director Ortiz, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Director Lee, I know you had a technical issue with respect at the end of our finance. Do you have any questions about either this presentation or the finance presentation?
No questions, thank you.
Great, thank you. No further questions, Chairman Silva.
Okay, we go to
Do you want to have this item placed on the omnibus
item
for board approval?
5.
Shall we place this item on the omnibus for board approval, sir?
Yeah.
Be great. Is there a
I now have leave to place this item on the omnibus for board approval.
So moved.
motion?
Second,
Thank you. Moved by Director Joss, seconded by Director Ortiz. Chairman Silva, we may now proceed to agenda item number 5.
Our next order of business is an ordinance authorizing an amendment to the reciprocal riding privileges program with PACE, Jeremy Fine, and Molly.
Thank you, and good morning. I'm Jeremy Fine, your Chief Financial Officer. And today I present for your consideration an ordinance authorizing an intergovernmental agreement among CTA, PACE, and Metra for a reciprocal riding privileges program. The ordinance builds on CTA's ongoing efforts for regional cooperation with PACE and Metra, encourage ridership, and provide competitive benefits to employees at all 3 transit agencies. Currently, CTA and PACE have a reciprocal agreement for riding privileges for employees and retirees. The agreement with Metra will allow employees from each service board to freely utilize each other's systems beginning in February of 2023, while the agreement with PACE will continue to allow CTA and PACE employees and retirees to utilize the 2 systems. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Questions?
Mr. Barclay?
No questions.
Mr. Jakes?
No questions.
Dr. Jha? Director Miller, any questions? Director Ortiz, Director Lee, any questions?
questions,
No questions. Thank you. No questions, Chairman Silva.
Our next order of business is an ordinance declaring public binding.
Excuse me, sir. Shall we move this to the omnibus for board approval?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
second,
Thank you. And now, Chairman Silva, we may proceed to agenda item number 6.
Our next order of business is an ordinance declaring public binding disadvantages and authorizing a development agreement with Sterling Racine LLC for the construction of a new training and control center on authority property located at West Lake Street and North Pulaski Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Bill Mooney.
Good morning. Bill Mooney, your Chief Infrastructure Officer. Staff recommends approval of an ordinance declaring bidding disadvantageous and authorizing a development agreement with Sterling Racine LLC for the construction of a new training and control center operations complex on CTA-owned land at Lake and Pulaski and authorize procedures for the administration of the agreement. In January 2022, the Transit Board approved a purchase and sale agreement with Sterling Racine LLC for the sale of CTA property located at 120 North Racine Avenue, and authorized the negotiations of a development agreement for the construction of a new training and control center complex. Staff has successfully negotiated a development agreement for the design and construction of a new unified campus. The development will provide for a new modern state-of-the-art facility to relocate current control center operations to and a consolidated training campus. The project has a not to exceed value of $158,081,066. The ordinance further establishes project-specific procedures for the administration of this agreement that are in line with the CTA's procurement policies and procedures, with adjustments aligned with the negotiated agreement. I'll be happy to take any questions on this project.
Have any questions? I don't have any questions.
Director Barclay?
No questions.
Director Jakes?
No questions.
Director Shaw? Director Lee, any questions?
No questions.
Director Miller?
No question.
Director Ortiz?
No questions.
There are no questions, Director Silva. Chairman Silva.
Our next order of business. May I now have leave to place this item on the omnibus for board approval?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Chairman Silva, we may now proceed to agenda item number 7.
Our next order of business is an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Housing Authority for information sharing to meet the Careers Opportunity Workforce Goal. Tom McCone and Juan Pablo Prieto.
Good morning, directors. Juan Pablo Prieto, Director of Diversity Programs. Staff recommends an ordinance to allow the CTA and the Chicago Housing Authority, or CTA, to exchange information relative to individuals' Section 3 worker status. The CTA assesses various workforce goals in our contracts to create opportunities for underrepresented communities, including the Careers Opportunity Goal. This goal establishes a minimum percentage of total labor hours on a contract that must be worked by either individuals enrolled in the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA, or Section 3 workers. We have used the WIOA designation since 2013, and although CTA is not a recipient of U.S. Housing and Urban Development, or HUD dollars, we recently added Section 3 to create opportunities for low-income individuals and housing authority residents begin or continue their contracts in construction. As part of our compliance, CTA must verify an individual's Section 3 worker status, and this ordinance would establish a process for CTA and CHA staff to communicate regularly and send and receive information regarding workers identified as Section 3 workers by our contractors and their subcontractors. This IGA has no cost associated to it and is for a 1-year term with 4 one-year options. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
No questions.
How many Section 3 workers have we used in the past with our contractors?
So this is a new goal that we have on new projects. We haven't had any hours logged yet. This establishes a way for us to monitor compliance on that.
And what's the overall goal? What are you looking to?
So we assess the careers opportunity goal based on the number of labor hours by trade and historical attainment. Generally, it's around 10% of the labor hours for this goal.
And what has been the, I mean, do you think our contractors will be receptive?
Yes, we've had the, like I said, the WIOA goal on contracts since 2013. So the contractors are used to that goal and meeting that goal. So now we're adding another designation to increase the population that they can reach out to for this goal. So we feel that it is an attainable goal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Jakes, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Director Shaw?
Thanks.
Director Lee? Director Miller?
No questions.
Thank you. Director Ortiz?
No questions, thank you.
There are no further questions, Chairman Silva.
May I now have leave to place this item on the omnibus for board approval?
So moved.
Second.
Chairman Silva, we may now proceed to agenda item number 8.
Our next order of business is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of underground storage tank insurance. Steve Wood.
Morning, Director. Steve Wood, Deputy General Counsel of the CTA's Law Department. We're coming before the board for renewal of the insurance policy that covers the CTA's underground storage tanks. This policy is renewed annually and runs from January 28, 2023 to 2024. The CTA has 45 underground storage tanks in multiple locations around the system, and they are used to store over 10,000 gallons of diesel fuel for the CTA's bus fleet. These USTs were installed between 1992 and 2020, and they are regulated at the state level by the Office of the State Fire Marshal. And the Fire Marshal establishes financial requirements for entities that own USTs like the CTA. These USTs are excluded from the CTA's property insurance policy, as they are from most property insurance policies because of this very specific risks they involve. So the CTA has secured this standalone policy beginning last year in order to insure against the cost of a leak or spill and to meet the Fire Marshal's regulations for financial accountability. Our insurance broker, Alliant, and its DBE Paradigm secured a number of insurance quotes for the CTA's business, and the incumbent carrier provided the most favorable combination of premiums and deductibles. So we are recommending purchasing the Ironshore Liberty Surplus Insurance Policy for an amount not to exceed $30,000 for the policy year beginning, as I said, January 28, 2023. The coverage for this policy has limits of $1 million per incident, $2 million for the policy aggregate, and they cover, the coverage includes payments for third-party bodily injury and property damage, legal defense costs related to any kind of covered claim, and the remediation costs that are associated with underground storage tank leaks. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is the insurance market okay? How is it moving now, right now?
With the underground storage tank renewal, we have very favorable renewal. It was essentially a flat renewal. It increased a couple of $100s, but we're not seeing these sorts of large premium increases that we have been seeing on other policies. So we've got our fingers crossed for the big policy, which will be coming in the spring involving our property.
Thank you.
Do any of the directors have any further questions concerning this matter?
No questions.
No question.
Thank you. Chairman, there are no further questions.
I now have leave to place this item on the omnibus for board approval.
So moved.
Second.
Chairman Silva, we may now proceed to contracts.
Our next order of business is the review of contract number A1, a change order for the manufacture and delivery of 2 electric buses and spare parts. No questions right now.
Are there any questions concerning this matter?
No question.
No questions.
There are no questions, Chairman Silva. We may now proceed to contract numbers B1 and B2.
Our next order of business is the review of contract numbers B1 and B2 infrastructure contracts.
Do any directors have any questions concerning contracts B1 and B2? No questions, Chairman Silva. We may now proceed to contract numbers F1, F2, and F3.
Our next order of business are contract numbers F1 through F3 administration contracts.
Are there any questions by directors concerning these 3 contracts?
No questions.
No questions.
No question.
Chairman Silva, if there are no questions concerning these contracts, we may now proceed to contract number G1.
Our next order of business is the review of contract number G1, piggyback contract for computer or professional consulting services.
Are there any questions concerning contract G1?
What is the total amount in this G1 contract?
It's slightly over 70 million.
70
Over,
million.
yes. And that's over 3 years and 2 one-year options. So that's over a 5-year period. If the IT department decides they want to extend the 3 remaining option years, they would need to come back to the board for funding.
Are there any further questions?
None.
Any questions?
No
No
questions.
further questions, Chairman Silva. You may now proceed to number 9A.
Since there are no further questions on the contracts, may I have leave to place the 7 contracts on the omnibus?
So moved.
Second.
That motion having been moved by Director Ja and seconded by Director Ortiz, Chairman Silva, we may now proceed to number 9B.
Since there is no further business to come before the committee, may I have a motion to approve the omnibus and recommend the omnibus for board approval?
So moved.
Second.
The motion having been moved and seconded, I'll call for a vote. Chairman Silva?
And finally, may I have a motion to
Let's go through the roll call vote for the motion, please.
yes.
Yes. Director Barclay?
Yes.
Director Jakes?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Ortiz?
Yes.
Director Lee?
Yes.
And Director Ja?
Yes.
The motion to approve the omnibus passes with 7 yes votes. Chairman Silva, you may now proceed to committee action, agenda item number 10.
And finally, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Director Ja?
Yes.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Director Ortiz?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Jakes?
Yes.
Director Barclay?
Yes.
Chairman Silva?
Yes.
The motion passes with 7 yes votes and the committee is now adjourned. Yes, Chairman Barkley, we can start.
Good morning. I'd like to call the regularly scheduled meeting of the Chicago Transit Board for December 14th, 2022 to order. Can please call the roll?
Director Jakes?
Here.
Director Miller?
Here.
Director Ortiz?
Here.
Director Lee?
Here.
Director Ja?
Here.
Director Silva?
Here.
Chairman Barkley?
Here.
You have a quorum with 7 members in attendance.
Thank you. Our first order of business is public comment. Kent?
Our first public speaker is Dr. Howard Ehrman. Dr. Ehrman?
Yes, good morning. My name is Dr. Howard Ehrman. I'm the former Assistant Health Commissioner here in the city of Chicago, appointed by Mayor Harold Washington in 1985. Thank you for letting me testify. I was born 3 months before the CTA in 1947. I'm here representing the People's Response Network, an organization of many different people, a lot of whom take the CTA, a lot of whom do not have the option of taking cars. We would like to propose meeting with you before or after the holidays on one or more of the issues I'm going to talk about. The first is, as we all know, there's tremendous need for new bus drivers, and we'd like to work with you, as you did a couple weeks ago at Malcolm X, to have a series of job fairs, particularly on the southwest and west side. Number 2 is ideas of how to increase ridership. Number 3 are ideas of how to increase funding to the CTA, including working together for the restoration of federal funding for operating expenses, which, as you know, ended January 1st of 1997 and is costing the CTA, as well as all the other agencies in the RTA, hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Number 4 is we would like to propose to you to do exactly what the CTA did and the agreement that was forged under Mayor Emanuel to build electric buses, just like the electric train sets that are being built for the CTA on the south side of Chicago. This should be done with union jobs, like the IBEW workers that are at that factory doing trains. And the last thing I want to talk about is really the issue of why you really need to change your contracts for new buses from diesel to electric. I am an occupational medicine physician for almost 50 years, trained at Cook County Hospital in one of the first 10 training centers for occupational medicine set up by the federal government. Bus drivers are getting sick every day driving diesel buses, no matter what. It's not your fault. It's the fact of life that diesel gets inside the bus, no matter how new it is. Those small particulate matter, 2.5 and less, cause major increase in sick days for your drivers, and also basically cause them to exacerbate underlying conditions or create new ones, including but not limited to asthma, diabetes, heart disease. I think you know better than I do what's been happening with bus drivers, not just in Chicago, but throughout the country. And this is a concrete way for you to move forward and increase not just the life expectancy of bus drivers, but the amount of time they want to drive these buses. There are other issues for bus drivers that need to be addressed, and I think the better that the bus drivers are treated, working collaboratively with ATU Local 241, the largest bus driver local in the United States with about 5,000 workers, the better this is going to be. So we urge you to replace the contract for 500 new diesel buses with electric buses and take the lead in the United States. And finally, please go back to the FTA and the funding in the IRA and up the amount of money you're asking for. I'm sure if Mayor Lightfoot called Secretary of Transportation Brnovich, that he would increase the amount of funding with a concrete proposal. The CTA asked for and got many dollars less than even Boston, which is a much smaller transportation system. So we're happy to work with you on this, and we look forward to our collaboration. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Dr. Ehrman. Our next speaker is Sana Syed. Ms. Syed?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Hello, Ms. Syed. Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you for giving me this time to make some comment and testify. My name is Sana Sayed, and I'm the Senior Director of Strategic Initiatives at the Inner City Muslim Action Network, and I'm also a board member of the Go Green Development Group. I am here to talk about the closed Racine Green Line station in Inglewood. As we all know, in 1994, the CTA closed the entire Green Line for renovation, but never reopened 6 stops, and all of them were in Black and brown neighborhoods, including Inglewood's Racine station. As predicted by community leaders then who had protested the decision, this disinvestment has had a devastating impact on our community. Inglewood is characterized by CMAP as one of 7 economically disconnected areas. And the result of this disconnection is that we have the lowest median household income, the highest rate of unemployment, the highest vacancies, and the highest vehicle crash areas in our city. We also have the longest average commute times and very low rates of car ownership, making Inglewood residents able to access only about 280,000 jobs within a 30-minute travel radius, as opposed to residents in something like Wicker Park who can access more than 1 million jobs within the same travel radius. The Go Green Development Group, which is a partnership between Teamwork Inglewood, RAGE, EG Wood, and Iman, have been advocating to reopen the Racine Green Line station. In 2021, the project was presented by the Future of Transportation Caucus to the U.S. Department of Transportation as an exemplar of community-led, equitable, transit-oriented development. In 2021, we also convened senior officials at city, state, and federal transit agencies and presented a racial equity case and vision for reopening the station. At the time, CTA did commit to evaluating the site. Over the last few months, together with 1,600 registered voters of the 16th Ward, we were able to get an advisory referendum for the reopening of the station on the 2023 ballot. We have been thrilled to see President Dorval Carter announcing CTA's full commitment to pursuing the reopening of the station in the Sun-Times op-ed published last week, and we really want to thank the President and the entire CTA team for this and other announcements, like those about the Red Line expansion. It is now time for us to act on our commitments, and we would really like to see how we can build momentum on this effort. I am hopeful to identify with CTA next steps on reopening the station and bringing affordable, safe transportation and opportunity to Inglewood. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments, Ms. Sayed. Our next speaker is Olivia Gahan from Citizens Taking Action. Ms. Gahan?
Good morning, board. It's good to talk with you all again.
Good morning.
I am Olivia Gahan, and I submitted some of the publicly sourced data that Commuters Take Action is continuing to collect. We can see from our data that the tracker reliability continues to be an issue, and the issue is felt a bit more acutely now that it is cooler outside. We also continue to see the trend in riders being forced to take a cab or Lyft so they could arrive to their destination on time, even when they provide themselves enough time to make that normal commute. I myself had to do this when I went to go babysit this past weekend, and I couldn't take the Addison bus because it was a 40-minute delay in between the buses. The train wait times that we collected were averaging at about 22 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes for train wait times during rush hours. 2 Red Line commuters commented that they waited 25 minutes for northbound Red Line station right at the time where the schedule block claims to run every 7 to 10 minutes. And another rider had to wait over 40 minutes during rush hour service when it was advertised to arrive 6 to 10 minutes. Bus waits are peaking at 15 minutes, and then again, folks are waiting more than 40 minutes. So of the 420 individual bus wait times we received, over a quarter of them were commuters waiting 24 minutes or 25 minutes or more for a bus. So the updated train schedule is, of course, as your data is also showing, running at about a 70%, which is better than the 55% it was at. But the trackers still continue to be an issue for those riders. And similarly to some of the other commenters today. I'm curious how the hiring fairs are going. And additionally, hope the CTA is working with the alder people and the transportation committee, who were very excited about collaborating on events to increase hiring, because we know that fixing the wait times and the long stretches between buses can only be solved with more transit operators. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Kagan. Our final speaker is Deborah Truss. Ms. Truss? Ms. Truss, I'll tell you that we've also provided your written statement to the directors.
Good morning.
Morning, Ms. Truss.
To the board chairman, Lester L. Barclay, CTA president. One second, I want to time myself to make sure I'm in time. To the board chairman, Lester L. Barclay, CTA president, CTA board chair, Lester Barclay, CTA president, Dorville R. Carter Jr., and the CTA board members. My name is Deborah Truss. Also, I am one of the founders of the Red Line Extension Coalition, which initially originated from Developing Communities Project, also known as DCP. DCP was a forerunner advocacy organization for the CTA Red Line Extension Project. In 1972, shortly after recently relocating from Inglewood, California, my family moved to Roseland on Dr. Martin Luther King Drive across from Palmer Park. I have witnessed the disinvestment and economic downward spiral of a thriving middle-income neighborhood that had an economic vitality commercial district. The advocacy efforts of the DCP Red Line Extension Project members was successfully demonstrated by repetitively appealing at the Chicago Transit Board meeting. As a result, the designated 5.6-mile Red Line Extension will create a transportation equity and equitable transit-oriented development around the 4 designated stations. Why have I been involved with advocating for the Red Line Extension and needed funding? The approval of the Transit TIF District for additional needed funding will enable the Red Line Extension, Roseland's principal large-scale commuter rail expansion project for the south side of Chicago, to be the forerunner capital investment project and the catalyst for other Greater Roseland community proposed or designated projects, which will overall result in community revitalization, economic vitality, neighborhood vitality, and equitable transit-oriented development. In addition, the Red Line Extension will increase travel mobility, accessibility to established entities in the Greater Roseland community and adjacent communities. And the Red Line Extension will increase accessibility and reduce round-trip travel time up to approximately 1 hour, which includes residents from adjacent neighborhoods and South suburban townships who work or desire to work in the South Loop or downtown area. Moreover, tourists and local visitors to the Pullman National Monument and Pullman State Historical Site will feel that the Red Line Extension is a commuting benefit and convenience. Therefore, if the needed funding is secured to start construction targeted to begin in 2025, the Transit TIF will be a funding asset to bring a historic $3.6 billion investment to Chicago and to the far south side. Respectfully submitted, Deborah Truss. Thank you
so much. Thank you for your comments, Ms. Truss. In addition to these speakers, we've received a written comment from Sam Bergman that he has asked to have read into the record, and I will do so right now. To the Chicago Transit Board, it is comically insulting that this organization has the gall to seek funding for an extension to the Red Line when this group fails on the fundamentals of a transit system. Reliability, communication, and safety have all been grossly neglected. What is the sense in expanding a transit system that does not work for the majority of the city? Transit operations are rarely running their full schedule, meaning a last second miss of a bus or train turns a close miss into a 20+ minute delay. This frequently disrupts the schedules of riders and creates frustrating experiences that make the CTA the increasingly desirable option for anyone looking to travel around the city. When trains and buses arrive at such large intervals, it turns the CTA into a method of travel only practical when a commute is diligently planned rather than a convenient option Chicagoans can rely on, whether they have planned their route ahead or not. Even more frustrating than having to wait an extended period of time for the next bus or train is waiting the posted time for that ride and having no train or bus arrive. Buses and trains not arriving at the supposedly live updated posted times is a regularity that is uniquely frustrating for CTA riders. This miscommunication installs false hope that transit will be arriving soon and leaves riders with no trusted source for when the trains and buses arrive. This can also further disrupt the planning done by CTA riders who rely on the system to navigate the city. This failure in communication is a failure of basic principles that makes a transit system reliable. Lastly, anyone who uses trains and buses beyond that of a standard 9-to-5 commuter knows how dangerous the CTA may be. In my 1.5 years living in Chicago, I have flashed witness to a mass shooting, witness to a mugging, and verbally assaulted countless times. I have also been privy to other place CTA experiences such as human excrement in train cars, passenger smoking, and aggressive solicitation. Every single day there is a number of crimes, many violent, that are committed on CTA buses and trains, with the vast majority of them not resulting in any arrest. The lack of safety for CTA passengers is inexcusable. On-train security guards and active camera monitoring are basic security measures that can be implemented to deter crime on the CTA, but this organization has failed to prioritize the safety of passengers. President Dorval Carter, you ignored the summons to requests of our city council to discuss these critical topics for months, only finally accepting when your attendance was required to request the funding for the Red Line expansion, solidifying your tone deafness to the needs of CTA riders. CTA is a growing city with a shrinking public transit system. More and more Chicagoans are refusing to use the CTA because of the issues shared here. The priorities of this organization are misaligned with the priorities of those who actually use the CTA. I invite you all to stop trying to expand a broken system and instead focus on the issues that plague our city's transit system. Sam Bergman. In addition, we have written comments from John Paul Jones and materials from Ms. Gahan that have been provided to the directors. Chairman, that concludes the public comments.
Thank you, Kent. I want to thank all of the public speakers this morning, and we'll ask staff to respond where it is necessary. Our next order of business is the President's report. President Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, today's Meeting the Moment Action Plan Progress Update continues to reflect our aggressive efforts to end this year with a strong hiring and employee retention push. Since my last update, CTA organized 2 very successful career fairs, attracting more than 500 prospective applicants, and launched a competitive employee hiring and retention financial incentive package. We had 175 attendees at the Olive Harvey College Job Fair on November 18th, and 376 people attended the job fair at Malcolm X College on December 2nd. These 2 job fairs have been a tremendous success for the CTA, and I am very excited to see the impact on improved service delivery in the winter and spring months. Many of the applicants will successfully be hired and will have completed training to begin revenue service. We've also worked with union leadership to announce hiring and retention incentives that will help CTA be a more competitive employer. These efforts fit into 2 pillars of our action plan: deliver reliable and consistent service, as well as invest in our employees. CTA's new incentives will help address the challenge of attracting new employees, as well as retaining our existing workforce. Key items in this effort include a $1,000 hiring bonus for all new bus operators, mechanics, and rail car repairers hired in 2022 and 2023, a 3% retention incentive after every 6-month period worked, and increased starting rate for bus and rail operators, mechanics, and car repairers. This means our starting rate for bus and rail operators will reach $30 an hour in 2023 compared to $24 an hour earlier this year. I want to take a moment to thank the leadership of both ATU Locals 241 and 308 for working closely with us to make these incentives a reality. We have no greater asset than the men and women who make up this agency, and it is with great pride that we continue to recognize their service and commitment. We will continue to update the board in the coming months as we see the positive effects of our hard work to prioritize employees, make CTA a more competitive employer, and boost our recruitment efforts to provide good paying jobs. Along with significant positive progress on employee hiring and retention, we've also made progress in bus infrastructure and customer wayfinding investments. As I noted when we announced this action plan, our investment in improving the infrastructure continues as collaborative projects improving the customer experience on our facilities and fleet. Time for Thanksgiving travel season, CTA and the Chicago Department of Aviation launched new signs and wayfinding elements throughout O'Hare Airport to help customers, especially out-of-town visitors, to and from the CTA Blue Line station. The Blue Line is the most affordable and typically the fastest way to travel between O'Hare and downtown. This partnership with the Department of Aviation provides easy-to-read directions right to the train. CTA has also been working with the Chicago Department of Transportation to complete an upgrade to the pandemic temporary bus lanes on Chicago Avenue between Western and Ashland, both directions. The new red stripe lanes are bus and bike only at all times, significantly improving the reliability and speed of our buses on this important route. Additionally, 19 electric buses are operating on the number 66 Chicago route, bolstering our ongoing commitment to electrification. To mark this important occasion, I joined CDOT Commissioner Biaggi and First Ward Alderman Daniel Laspada on an e-bus ride along the new bus lanes just recently. I am thankful for their leadership in helping to prioritize buses throughout the city of Chicago. On safety and security initiatives, we continue to build our strong partnership with the Chicago Police Department and are working to expand our marketing efforts of those policing activities. In 2023, we will launch a campaign to better promote CPD's patrolling activities on CTA. Also, in the coming weeks, CTA and the Department of Family and Social Services will launch an expanded outreach effort to engage unhoused riders and riders struggling with mental illness or drug abuse. We understand the need for this type of engagement, and we are eager to expand our partnership with DFSS and the social service organizations throughout the winter. While service optimization efforts and hiring more operators will have the biggest impact on accuracy and reliability of the bus and train tracker tools, we also continue to update and enhance the technologies and data behind those tools. Specifically, in the last few months, we've launched a brand new mobile responsive bus tracker website, made significant configurations and algorithm improvements to bus and train tracker, updated the schedule information to be more dynamic and better reflect available manpower, and improved the design of rail station platform signage. This is just a high-level overview of all the work that the CTA team has done to improve these critical customer communication tools, and I look forward to updating you in 2023 on the additional investments we are making in bus and train tracker to make it more reliable and accurate. Measuring our action plan progress and transparently sharing the information with the public is also critically important to the success of the action plan. Last month, we rolled out an extensive scorecard to track our rail service and ridership progress in detail. This month's scoreboard provides usual updates in improving service and progress towards many other initiatives we have been moving forward with one significant improvement. The December scorecard is now an interactive display on our website. This change makes it as easy as possible for anyone visiting our website to view the scorecard, provides further transparency, and allows riders to use interactive charts and graphs to better track our progress. Our most recent report card demonstrates that we are delivering more bus and rail service in comparison to our schedules. The detailed information on rail line shows across-the-board improvement, ranging from small gains on the blue and red line to larger improvements on brown, green, and orange line. Double and triple headway data shows significant reduction of long wait times to our customers and a continued positive impact of rail service optimization. This information reveals where we are experiencing challenges and also where we need improvements. On the Blue Line specifically, we continue to experience service delivery challenges. In the spring, we are planning to make additional scheduling changes and add more operators to address rail slow zones on the Forest Park branch. While planned rail improvement projects on the Forest Park branch will also help us address service on the Blue Line in the long term. Some other highlights on the scorecard include the addition of the Cook County Sheriff's check data on our system. We are happy to have additional resources to improve security on the system, and also 46 K9 teams are now rolled out, nearing our goal to get to 50 teams on the system by the end of the year. As we complete many of the initiatives we announced in the MTN plan in August, I look forward to updating you in 2023 on several other items in progress to deliver improvements to our customers. These new measures include, for instance, new schedule optimization changes for our bus service that will be implemented on January 8th, which I will further discuss as we implement and evaluate how those adjustments improve the CTA travel experience. It is our expectation that these optimization efforts on the bus side of our house will have the similar impact that we've seen with the optimization efforts on the rail side of the house, resulting in more reliable service, more accuracy in our bus tracker, and ultimately a reduction in the gaps in service that we are currently experiencing. I made a commitment in August that CTA would do better, and I invite all those who are interested in following our progress to watch our scorecard closely. In closing, I want to thank you for your attention. Directors, I hope you found this update helpful, and I am happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you, President Carter. I want to commend you and your team for the continued progress that you're making on meeting the moment. So we appreciate that. As I mentioned in briefings, I continue to be encouraged by the security, the visibility of security. I think that we are doing better there than we were a number of months ago, as well as other station improvements there. On the service delivery side, I'm glad to hear about the updates to our transit tracker to reflect more accurate service information. As I recommended at briefings, let's continue to find ways to promote communication with our customers about what we're doing, particularly to, short circuit those longer waits that people are experiencing and that they've complained about. As we know, workforce shortage is one of the main contributing factors to service delivery issues, and I'm glad to hear about your efforts on your team with the two recruitment efforts there at Olive Harvey and I think Malcolm X there over the last month, where you've had over 500 participants there. And so we're very pleased to see that progress. We know that it's going to take some time to fill those positions, but it seems like there's a good, effective plan that's in place. So I'm pleased to see that. At this point, I'd like to open it up to any other board members who may have any comments in response to President Carter's remarks this morning.
Chairman Barkley, before we go to other board members, I would like to respond to one of the comments that was raised during the public comment session. Yes, we have followed up with the aldermen who raised their interest in wanting to support CTA as we move forward. We make sure that every alderman is made aware of all of our job fairs and other hiring efforts, and we will even more aggressively pursue the support of the aldermen and other elected officials as we move into the new year.
Thank you. Any other board members with any comments in response to President Carter's remarks this morning?
I second all of your comments.
Go ahead, Director Ortiz.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that I second all of the comments that you just, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's just for making sure it's for public record, Mr. President, that you have done a marvelous job considering, it's no secret to anyone that is still on this side of heaven that, managing through a pandemic, it's just not been easy for those who've had to be in charge of something through a pandemic. And for the scorecard and all of the things that you've had to do, I just want to say you're doing a marvelous job. I think the scorecard is a fabulous idea. We are going to get to the other side of this. I echo the sentiments of our chairman. So hopefully you remain encouraged, and those who are partnering with you will remain encouraged, and those who are rightfully critical that they would continue to hold our feet to the fire. So that way we become better for as a city. So thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you, Director. You know, I certainly recognize, we certainly heard from the public comments that we still got a ways to go. I'm not suggesting by any of the things that I've said here that we have fixed this problem.
Right.
I still have a serious workforce shortage issue that we're digging into every day. I am very excited about the incentive program because I think it will help with some of the hemorrhaging that we're seeing on the exodus of employees while giving us better, robust hiring opportunities for new employees coming on board. We are certainly strategically, as we bring in new employees, we are strategically deploying them to those areas that we know are creating some of the biggest service challenges for us. So on the rail side, we're obviously focused on blue and red line, which continues to see the smallest percentage of increase over all the lines in terms of service improvement. Similarly, on the bus side, we're sending new bus operators targeting those garages that we know have had the biggest service reliability challenges and are creating the biggest gaps in service on a regular basis. It is my hope that as we continue to pursue this effort, that we will see a corresponding improvement in the service that we're delivering out there, as well as an increase in the percentage of available service we're putting out. We're currently around 70-something% of service that we are putting out that we have scheduled. Before the pandemic, we were in the 90% range. Now, I will point out that before the pandemic, we probably put out more service to schedule than just about any other transit agency in the country. So we had an excellent record that has been impacted, obviously, by the pandemic and the challenges that we're facing. But I don't have any doubt that we can get that record back again as we continue to add the resources and do the other things that we're doing to improve the reliability of the service that we're providing.
The other directors.
I just want to second. I don't think I could have said it any better. So thank you. I think I totally agree. I think there's a lot to be done. And I mean, sometimes I think we lose the bigger context in being so tactical about solve this. But I think you're looking at it holistically. I think the 5 pillars make sense. I think just the progress in terms of where we can do better versus where we're already getting to the number before the pandemic. I think we skip those and we look at the problem areas, and sometimes I think we just need to take a step back, 2 steps back to take 3 steps forward. So like you're doing an amazing job as a leader, and I think your team is excellent in terms of innovation, some of the areas that they're focusing on. So I think sometimes at the end of the year, December, holiday times, I think we also need to recognize all the good things that have happened and not lose sight of. So thank you. I think you don't hear it enough, but we appreciate it. I think the people in Chicago appreciate it. I'm a regular CTA rider. I appreciate it for sure. It's one of those things I don't have to think about. I show up, especially in the mornings that the trains come, there's multiple of them, we can get on and go where we need to go. So thank you.
Thank you. And I probably would be a little bit remiss if I didn't at least acknowledge a major activity that's happening as we speak over at City Hall. And knock on wood, with a little bit of luck here, there will be some really, really, really good news for us to announce by the end of the day around the Red Line extension. And as you heard, one of the commenters mention how important that project is to them. You have certainly heard all of me state how important that project is to me. And my team has worked very hard to try to move this project to a point where we can get the funding to make it happen. And hopefully, when the city council takes that matter up later today, we will have locked in the non-federal funding that we need and the commitment for that funding that we need to be able to move this project forward.
Yes. Thank you. I think we're all excited about moving that project forward and basically bringing rail service to that segment of the city that has been waiting for 50 years.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Since I was a kid.
Yeah, me too.
That's okay. Why don't we just make that point? Thank you very much, President Carter.
Thank you.
Our next order of business is the approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of November 15th, 2022. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. I'll call the roll. Director Jakes?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Ortiz?
Yes.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Director Jacques?
Yes.
Director Silva?
Yes.
Chairman Barclay?
Yes.
Motion passes with 7 yea votes.
Our next order of business is executive session. It's my understanding, Kent, that there is an executive session today.
Yes, Chairman, we will have a closed session pursuant to Section 2, Paragraph C, subparagraphs 1, 2, and 11 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act.
I will now entertain a motion to recess into executive session for reasons stated by counsel.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. I'll call the roll. Director Jakes?
Yes.
Director Miller? Director Miller?
He raised his hand.
Oh, got it. Director Lee?
Yes.
Director Jacques?
Yes.
Director Silva?
Yes.
Chairman Barclay?
Yes.
Motion passes. We will now recess into closed session.
I will now entertain a motion to return to open session.
Moved.
Second.
Do we have a motion?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to organize my schedule when I come. We won't be done by 12:30, sorry. So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Director Jakes?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Ortiz?
Yes.
Director Lee? Director Lee? Okay. I believe you're muted, Director Lee. Director Jha?
Yes.
Director Silva?
Yes.
Chairman Barkley?
Yes.
The motion passes with 7 votes.
We will now address board agenda item number 5A. Kent?
Thank you, Chairman. Item 5A involves the board's review of a Section 28 hearing committee's recommendation regarding CTA's discharge of Jamar Gilmore. Mr. Gilmore requested a hearing to contest his discharge under Section 28 of the Metropolitan Transit Authority Act. The hearing was held before an appointed committee, and after considering all of the evidence presented at the hearing, the committee has recommended that this board sustain Mr. Gilmore's discharge.
Thank you, Kent. May I have a motion to approve an ordinance sustaining the discharge of Jamar Gilmore?
So moved.
Second.
Second? Jakes?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Director Ortiz?
Yes.
Lee? Still can't hear you, but I believe you said yes. Director Jha?
Yeah.
Yes.
Director Silva?
Yes.
Chairman Barkley?
Yes.
The motion passes with 7 yes votes.
Next executive session item for consideration is board agenda item number 5B. Kent?
Thank you, Chairman. Item 5B involves the board's review of a Section 28 hearing committee's recommendation regarding CTA's discharge of Marissa Constantino. Ms. Constantino requested a hearing to contest her discharge under Section 28 of the Metropolitan Transit Authority Act. The hearing was convened before an appointed committee, and Ms. Constantino failed to appear. The hearing committee has recommended that this board sustain Ms. Constantino's discharge for one of prosecution.
May I have a motion to approve an ordinance sustaining the discharge of Mr. Constantino?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Director Jakes?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Ortiz?
Yes.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Yes. Director Jha?
Yes.
Director Silva?
Yes.
And Chairman Barkley?
Yes.
The motion passes with 7 yes votes.
The final executive session item for consideration is board agenda item 5C. Kent?
Chairman, for item 5C, the Chicago Transit Authority has reached a non-precedential agreement with the Amalgamated Transit Union Locals 241 and 308 for the provision of certain temporary hiring and retention incentives, and requests this board's ratification of the agreement.
May I have a motion to approve the ordinance ratifying a memorandum of agreement with the Amalgamated Transit Union Locals 241 and 308?
So moved.
Jakes?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Director Ortiz?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Director Jha?
Yes.
Director Silva?
Yes.
Chairman Barkley?
Yes.
Motion passes with 7 yes votes.
Thank you, Kent. We will now proceed to board matters. Our next order of business is board agenda item 6A, a resolution changing the dates of the January, August, October, and November 2023 board meetings. I will now entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. The motion has been moved and seconded. Director Jakes?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Ortiz?
Yes.
Director Lee?
Yes.
Director Jha?
Yes.
Director Silva?
Yes.
Chairman Barkley?
Yes.
The motion passes with 7 yes votes.
Our next board matter is an ordinance delegating authority to the first Assistant Secretary of the Chicago Transit Board. I will now entertain a motion to approve the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. The motion has been moved made and seconded. Director Jakes,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Ortiz,
Yes.
Director Lee,
Yes.
Director Shaw,
Yes.
Director Silva,
Yes.
Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
The motion passes with 7 yes votes.
Our next order of business is a report from the Committee on Strategic Planning and Service Delivery. Director Miller.
Yes, sir. The committee met earlier today. The Committee on the Strategic Planning and Service Delivery met earlier this morning. The committee approved the October 14, 2022 committee minutes. The committee heard a presentation from staff regarding update on the CTA Fair Media Program. That concludes my report, Chairman Barclay.
Thank you, Director Miller. Our next order of business is a report of, our next order of business is a report from the Committee on Finance, Audit, and Budget. Director Silva.
The committee met earlier this morning and approved the November 15 committee minutes and reviewed the finance report. The committee reviewed 5 ordinances. An ordinance authorizing First Amendment to Omnibus and Revenues Sharing Intergovernmental Agreement with PACE. An ordinance authorizing an amendment to the Reciprocal Riding Privilege Program with PACE. An ordinance declaring public bidding disadvantageous and authorizing a development agreement with Sterling Racine LLC for the construction of a new training and control center on authority property located at West Lake Street and North Pulaski Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. An ordinance authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Housing Authority for information sharing to meet the Careers Opportunity Workforce Goal. An ordinance authorizing the purchase of underground storage tank insurance for policy year January 28, 2023 through January 28, 2024. The committee also reviewed 7 contracts. The committee approved and recommended for board approval all 5 ordinances and the 7 contracts. The committee placed all 5 of the ordinances and 7 of the contracts on the omnibus, and that concludes my report, Chairman Barclay.
Thank you, Director Silva. I will now entertain a motion to approve the omnibus as stated by Director Silva.
So moved.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Director Jakes,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Ortiz,
Yes.
Director Lee,
Yes.
Director Shaw,
Yes.
Director Silva,
Yes.
Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
Motion passes with 7 aye votes.
Our next order of business is the construction report. Bill Mooney and Juan Pablo Prieto.
Good afternoon, directors and Chairman Barclay. I am Bill Mooney, your Chief Infrastructure Officer, and I am presenting your monthly construction update. And we will begin this month with our new project at CDOT Lakeline and Damon Station that we introduced last month. The project continues moving forward mostly with underground foundational work. Again, this is a project that's being administered on our behalf by the Chicago Department of Transportation. They continue their deep caisson work as well as installing grade beams, as well as some of the foundational work for the station itself. We can look at some photos around that. Move forward. So this is, they're installing deep benchmarking. This is actually an anchor point that they'll use for surveying for the rest of the station. It goes all the way down to the bedrock so that it doesn't actually shift with any of the ground that moves. And it's a very fundamental kind of key point for reference for the rest of the project. Next slide. Here they are pouring a concrete caisson cap. You've seen a lot of this work similarly on other projects we do over at either the substation or on RPM, but this will be the basis for what will hold the new platforms in place. Next slide. And they're pouring the concrete mats. So this is a series of caissons that were tied together and ultimately will be the foundation for the building footprint itself, the elevator towers and other such things. Next slide. Our next projects are a non-revenue rail vehicle facility. We've finished most of the foundational work on the site, and we've started the prep work to actually start building the walls. So this is a prefabricated wall facility, and so it has a little different process than what we typically see in a brick-built building. And so they've been doing a lot of prep work around that. We also have brought ComEd into the site, and so ComEd is now establishing the power and all the connection points that the building will ultimately get connected to. And we've kind of worked around those aspects. Next slide, we'll show some photos. So here they are installing some helical anchors within the kind of the ground. So what happens ultimately, and you'll see next month, is the walls start going up, they get pitched in place, and they get tied back until they're all welded together as one kind of shell of the building, and the roof's put on. So they're building the anchor points for that. Next slide. Here they are actually doing utility work out in the street right out off of 63rd and Calumet. So this is actually where we'll be terminating the existing service and bringing in the new service for the building, and that's kind of what you're seeing here. Next slide. And here's ComEd. So ComEd has started loading the transformers on the site. So ultimately they bring in the power for the facility to a new transformer and a vault right there, and then we connect to it at the vault for the new facility. Our next project, please. So this is our Canal-Barry Damon traction power upgrade project. So we can move forward with a couple items here. So most exciting work really in the past month has been really around Canal. So they poured the foundation for the new breaker facility in the subway over a long weekend outage. And you can see kind of that framework put in there with the rebar and ultimately the pour. And then you can see actually the anchor points where the new house is going to be mounted in its footprint. Next slide. And then off of that, they poured the duct bank. So this will be the new cable runs from that breaker house to the various parts of the subway to distribute that power. Next slide. And at Haymarket, just down the street from 567, they've dug down and expanded the foundation of the existing courtyard wall. Last month I showed you showing some of the demo. That wall actually gets expanded out about 6 feet. So they actually had to redo the whole foundation for that to be able to expand that courtyard wall. So here's what you're seeing there. Next slide. Our refreshed and renewed program comes to a conclusion for the year. I'm happy to report that we completed 28 of the 28 stations committed to as part of the project. We also are rapidly coming to close on the SBE painting program. So as part of our goal in our upcoming program, we are going to continue committing to a percentage of painted stations a year through our main contract that you awarded a few months ago, which is an SBE set-aside contract as well. So not only will we continue with full station renewal, we'll actually also continue to touch up additional stations throughout the year as well. So, but here's some highlights from the last group of stations for the year. So one of our prize stations in the South Loop is Roosevelt, and it actually has a connection point to the red and orange line. So we did both stations tied together. So this is the connecting tunnel between the two. Upgraded lighting, cleaned, enhanced. It really makes a big difference. Highlights some of those unique tiles on the wall. Next slide. We've done some major kind of cleanup and touch-up work in the elevators to make it more pleasant for usage. The floor had previously been done. This just deals with some of the other tactile and lighting issues. Next slide. Here's the platform at Roosevelt. Again, really heavy, deep clean, fresh coat of paint on the ceiling, the walls, as well as the upgraded LED lighting. Next slide. This is in the station on the elevated portion. So they polished all the stainless steel tiles in the ceiling, upgraded the lighting, cleaned up the flooring, touched up all the touch surfaces, really gives that welcoming appearance as you enter. Really changes the color appearance as well. Next slide. So this is a little unique. This is a bus waiting area outside on Roosevelt Street. And so we actually took down the canopy there and we added a bunch of site lighting there. So it's more open, more friendly, more secure during night hours when customers are waiting for buses. Next slide.
Bill, real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Going back to that previous slide,
yes, sir.
Under the after where it says the lighting, are those heat lamps under there as well?
No, those are just LED bulbs that are buried up into the mesh ceiling.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
No problem. So previously I'd shown you some updates to a few other stations. We had some finish up work there that were kind of unique, and I wanted to also highlight some of those opportunities. So at Cermak on the red line, we did a bunch of power washing to the trackside windows. So as you walked up on the station looked really clean. We also added a bunch of accent lighting. So you can see the red tone lighting off the canopy there. So as you look down Cermak from either direction, you can see the station. We also replaced the station identifier signage. So we used to have a flat map sign there, and we worked with our signage group to build a new sign that we get backlit. So from over a block away, you can see the station coming down Cermak. It really is pronounced and highlights some of the neat features of that station. Next slide. We also finished up some cleanup on the out front towards the end of the landscaping season here, cleaned up the beds, dealt with some of the irrigation systems that have failed, and just made them more friendly on that curb appeal. Next slide. At 51st and the Green Line, which we showed you some cleanup about 2 months ago out there, we worked with CDOT to get all the under-L lighting directly in that area added as well. So not only did we increase all the LED lighting footprint off of our station, we added a bunch of LED lighting under the structure there. So the whole area up and approaching the station, around the station really is well lit and secure. Next slide. We also finished, we had an opportunity to be able to go in and completely repaint the floor of that station. So you can see the before after pictures there and what a big impact that really makes on that entrance to the station. Next slide. And we worked a little bit on that curb appeal as well. So we found a new location for the dumpsters and the storage out in front of the station. We cleaned that area up. We relocated those dumpsters, added some additional bike racks. And on the next slide, please. We found a good spot across the street and built a new enclosure to be able to hide those dumpsters so that our customers, as they approach the station, don't have to walk past the dumpsters and that experience, and there's a better secure spot to keep them. Next slide. And at 47th on the Red Line, we also did some work on the bus shelters there. So the bus shelter on the south side of the bridge across from the station, we actually ended up rebuilding pretty significantly. The roof panels were damaged, the side panels were damaged. We added a bunch of lighting to it because it did not have existing lighting. It was kind of dark during night hours, and should have overall enhanced that customer experience on the bus side as well in that transfer point. And we also added a bunch of lighting to the arc glass. So this there's actually an arc glass bridge that connects the station to that bus shelter, and at night it actually wasn't lit. So we added a bunch of backlighting to it to be able to make it light up at night a little bit. And so again, you can see it well from a distance as well as overall enhance that experience. It's a pretty large investment in that station, and to have it lost at night seemed to be a lost opportunity. Next slide. And we also, again, kind of enhanced that frontage. So we looked at opportunities to really make it pop out. So as you approached it, you understood kind of exactly what you were walking up to, and it really made it a welcoming, bright, secure experience. Next slide. And this is one that was not fully a part of our Refresh and Renew program, but was a huge effort by our trades that I just wanted to take a moment to celebrate. Is Clark and Lake going from the main station house and the connections to both 203 LaSalle as well as the SOIC Thompson Center connection. As you go down to the blue line, had a series of stairs that connected you from that mezzanine to the subway access point, and those stairs were really structurally damaged. The granite had failed over the years. There'd been a patchwork of repairs, and they were really at a point that they needed to be fully replaced. So over a series of 5 weekends, we went in there and completely took apart the stairs and rebuilt them. They also have the contrasting stair treads, which is our new standard for assisting with customers that have a visual impairment and understanding kind of depths of stairs. And it's a whole new galvanized system. So as it's used and abused over the years, it should wear very well. It was a huge investment of maintenance effort and time and coordination. They did a really great job, and I wanted to highlight some of this because it's a really great customer enhancement. I have a couple other photos that shows you kind of before and afters and the work. Flip to the next one here. This really gives you a sense of that improvement. So if anyone's ever used those stairs, it really is a big change and a big value opportunity. And that brings me to RPM, and we continue on budget and tight to schedule here, and we can highlight some of the ongoing activities. Continue to work on our quarter-wide signal improvements. We've come to the conclusion of drilling major shafts on stage 2 in the RPB quarter. That's another kind of major milestone. So now we've actually drilled all the shafts for both the LBMM and RPB current stages we're in, and we won't be drilling again until the upcoming year when we switch stages. We continue to erect segments as we come to the end of this year. The segmental boxes will actually be finishing up, which is again a huge milestone that we'll be talking about in the upcoming months. We can move forward with a couple photos of some other work going on. So here is in the RPB, so those last caissons that were drilled, we put the pier caps in, and we've started setting some beams on them. So I think the next slide shows some of that. So here are some of those precast beams. The last sections of beam going in stage 2 are being set in the upcoming weeks. And so next month, you'll see some of the completion of that work as well. Here's some of the rehab work on the foundation. We are also coming to conclusion on that rehab. That's a big impact to the neighborhood association there, and we've been working very closely with them for many years now on that impact. And so I'm sure they're very glad to see the conclusion of some of that work. Next slide. And up on LBMM, we start doing station work. So this is a pretty exciting time as we've got our permits for the next phase of temp stations, as well as starting to get ready to do some of the major station work that comes with stage B work up there. So here they are for the Argyle Temp Station. So in the next phase change, we switched the way we access the station, the platform there. So here they're building that new foundation for that temp station. And this is the relay room that I've shown you in previous months being constructed from the outside. So that building's fully enclosed at this point, and they're prepping it to actually start receiving equipment in the early part of next year. Next slide. We continue to install rail, and here you are seeing them actually using a butt welding machine where they actually use an electric pulse to weld two pieces of rail together to create a quiet, smoother ride for our customers ultimately. Next slide. And what would be the end of a report without some shots of our gantry and the segments? As I mentioned, we are quickly coming to conclusion of this run of the segment, and that's a pretty exciting point for the project. Next slide. And our community outreach continues. We regularly coordinate with the 44th Ward, the 48th Ward. We launched a new Open for Business campaign called Enjoy Local. This is a follow-up from our prior Open for Business campaign to support the local businesses in the corridor. We continue to coordinate with local neighborhood associations, Rossford, Newport Neighbors being most noticeable. Those are the ones that are along that renovated portion of the Ravenswood tracks that I've talked about the last couple of months. We partnered with the Uptown United Business and Community on a community ambassador program. We previously had our own community ambassador program. They were launching their own, so we decided to partner for a bigger impact. We continue to hold our virtual office hours. We launched a new Facebook Live series highlighting the circus experience. So this is a business in Edgewater that you can go and learn how to be a circus performer. It's great for group activities. It's fantastic and really a lot of fun, and maybe something that the board wants to consider for a team building exercise at some point in the future. And the bypass had its 1-year anniversary, and I know Chairman Barclay, you wrote it on that first day, but it's been a year, and it's pretty remarkable to believe it's been that long. And we had a little fun on social media, highlighting the number of trains and passengers that have ridden over it and the size and the pure construction of it. And with that, I will turn it over to Juan Pablo.
Bill, good afternoon again, directors. Juan Pablo Prieto, Director of Diversity Programs. CTA Diversity continues to meet with the contractor monthly to discuss DBE and workforce outreach and compliance. We continue to send out opportunities along with the prime to the DBE community so that they're aware of the trade packages and how to submit their bids. Our open career opportunities with the prime and subcontractors are sent through our workforce partners, Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership and Hire 360, so they can refer interested and qualified candidates to meet our workforce goals. On Wednesday, November 30th, one of our workforce partners, Hire 360, hosted a trades informational session at Malcolm X College. The event featured multiple networking opportunities for candidates to meet with representatives from pre-apprenticeship programs, the building trade unions, and other local agencies to learn more about the construction industry. The 90 attendees heard a presentation detailing the RPM project, the construction industry as a whole, and what resources exist to help candidates find employment on RPM. The next RPM Workforce Outreach event will be hosted in January of 2023, where we will highlight opportunities on RPM for the upcoming construction season. As of November 30th, DBEs have been awarded over $230 million between the design and construction packages, and this accounts for 84 unique DBE firms, 32 of which are new to CTA. On the workforce side, as of November 30th, 1,731 unique individuals have worked over 1 million labor hours and earned over $60 million in wages. That concludes my portion of the report. We're happy to answer any questions.
This time,
Thank you.
Questions?
Bill and Juan Pablo, any questions for them at this point? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Our final order of business is new business. Kent, is there any new business?
No, Chairman, there's no new business.
Since there's no new business to come before the board, may I have a motion to adjourn the Chicago Transit Board meeting of December 14, 2022?
Mr. Chairman, before we adjourn, I just got notice that there was favorable approval of the red line TIF at the City Council.
Oh, wonderful. Congratulations. For the citizens of Chicago, the taxpayers, and particularly in that region that need public transport, rail transportation, I'm very, very happy that after 50 years, it's going to be delivered. So we're excited.
Great Christmas present.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you for all your hard work, President Carter, to your staff. I know you put in a lot of time navigating us through that. And I'm very appreciative to the city council and to the mayor for their support and us moving forward on this as well. Any other comments?
You deserve a good shot of eggnog, man.
Well, you know what? So the meeting is, we have to vote on the adjournment.
Vote on the motion made, seconded
Second.
by Director Ortiz and Director Jakes.
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Ortiz.
Yes.
Director Lee. Yes. Director Ja,
Yes.
Director Silva,
Yes.
and Chairman Barclay.
Yes.
The motion passes. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.